shown the importance of understanding the Arabic language. However, like I said, it is a science that you need to spend time with. Afterwards, you're ready to go study the other principal sciences, stair-stepped. Those who don't pay attention in the Arabic class, they fail in usul al-fiqh. Because fiqh is fahm. Fiqh is understanding what was intended. Profound understanding. You can't have profound understanding if you don't understand the language. Is that correct? Does that make sense? So, araba means to make something crystal clear so as to leave no doubt as to what was implied, what was intended. Okay? It also is reference, it refers to a particular people known as the Arabs. Okay? Language. The scholars, when they start this lesson, they say, Lughatul Arabiyya. Lugha meaning language. Languages are many. The definition of language is those sounds that are shared by all people. Everybody has sounds that come off their tongue, different from the animals who come out their throat. The sounds that people throw off their tongues, they share the sounds, but the meanings are different. Okay? For example, in Wolof, which is a Senegalese language, you say wow. Everybody say that. Wow. Wow. What does wow mean in English? Surprise. It's isti'jab. You're amazed at something. Right? Surprise or amazement. But wow in the Wolof tongue means yes. It's pronounced the exact same way, but the meaning differs because of the people. Languages are many, and they all have the same purpose. The purpose is to express the needs of the people, agradun nas, what the people desire, what they need to express from themselves from a linguistic perspective, a verbal perspective, and that's what we're talking about here. Then this is called language. We are not speaking about what other people speak when they say language, which means anything anybody does, like hand movement or reading materials alone. We're talking about what someone says. This is language, what we're talking about. Now, when we talk about the Arabic language, we're talking about the language particular to the Arabs. These Arabs are a particular people, ma'ruf, well known for who they are, who speak this particular language. Okay? The meaning of the word Araba, we went over before. Now, what I'm going to say now is a very important principle that you have to remember for the rest of the time that you are studying the Arabic language. It will clear up any confusion you find as you go along. And that principle is, how did we get the Arabic language? We got the Arabic language, hafizatha. The people that have preserved it is the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are the first two proofs in the Arabic language. What did I say? And the authentic Hadith, I should clarify, the authentic Hadith are the first two proofs for the Arabic language, and those are the first two things that have preserved the Arabic language. The next thing that has preserved it is the shi'r, the poetry of the Jahiliyyah, of the time before the Quran came. And the thiqatul Arab, the what do you call it, thiqatul Arab? The educated amongst the Arabs. You know, the writers and those people who do the Diwan. So we say the Quran, authentic Hadith, and then poetry prior to Islam. Let's talk about this for a second. And then we're going to say, then the educated writers amongst the Arabs. In this order. The first proof is the Quran. Okay? Now we call this naqlan. We call this naqlan. Say it, guys. Naqlan. Meaning we got this passed down. I'm going to translate this passed down. Aban and Jed, from father to son. Okay? It's come down, passed down. So, reason why I'm saying this before I go into this, to explain this principle, when someone says to you, how come you say it like that? How come you pronounce this word like this, or you make this sentence like this? We say, we don't get into no great argument that some people do in later terms. Well, this happened, and so they chop this word off. No. هكذا سمي العرب. This is how we heard the Arabs speaking, and we got it passed down from them, and so we imitate it that way. We don't say, okay, as some people get into argument, why do we say Amrun? We say Amrun with a wow, and we say Umar like this. Why do we put this wow here? Why is it? And then they say, well, they put it here because they wanted to distinguish Amrun from Umar when they wrote. No, we don't say that. We don't get into that argument. Because the Arabs did not gather together in some plain someplace and say, you know what? When we write Amrun, it confuses us when we write Umar, so why don't we just put a wow? They didn't do that. هكذا سمع العرب. This is how we found the Arabs speaking, and this is why we follow it. Ibn Anjad, it's been passed down to us. The Quran has preserved it. The Hadith has preserved it. And then the poetry prior to Islam. Why poetry prior to Islam? Poetry prior to Islam is because the Arabs, prior to Islam, the best thing they had was their poetry. And they used to take this poetry, and they used to, every year someone would stand, Suq al-Awqaz, the people would stand up there and they would recite their best poetry. Whoever came with the best poetry, it's like the hip-hop guys, back in the days, I'm not talking about these guys now. They would take their poetry and they would put it on the Kaaba. This is what they say. They said, put it on the Kaaba. And they used to call these mu'allaqat. These are the hanging things that they used to put on the Kaaba. And whoever came with a better poem, they would take that one down and put it up. Okay? And their language was everything. Even now, when you listen to Arabs talking, they really love language. They really listen to what you have to say, and they play with the words, Cousins of Jews, sadly. So 7 poems stayed up, 7 of them, and they never got pulled off until Islam came. These are called mu'allaqat al-sab'a, the 7 hanging poems. Okay, and these are classics in Arabic. The language is very rich, and how they understood the words then, that's how we understand what the Quran was sent down, meaning on the understanding they had. There was no new understanding brought to the words. And so, in the course of your study here, you will study one of the mu'allaqat, one of them, and to have it translated and given to you so that you can understand the style of it to become an expert. We're not going to teach you Arabic. We're going to make you a master of Arabic if you do the work. Okay? Because an Arab does not consider you an Arab speaker until you've memorized some poetry. And some of the poetry is wasteful. So what we do is the beneficial poetry, the thing that's going to help you understand the Quran. Another point is Ibn Abbas, who was tarjum of the Quran, the one who used to interpret the Quran. He used to say, I didn't know the meaning of this until I listened to this poetry. And that helped me learn the meaning of this, that, the, and other thing. So the educated writers amongst the Arabs, these are the people who are later writers who preserved it and wrote the things like we have Ibn Malik, who wrote the Alfiyat ibn Malik, which is 1,000 lines of Arabic rules. These people preserved the Arabic language in that form. Ibn Hisham, Fayruz Zubadi, who wrote the great dictionary. Different people like that. Ibn Mundhir, Sibawayh. These people are the ones who preserved the language. And it's interesting to note that the people who preserved the language are not actually Arabs. Besides Ibn Hisham, you don't have one that's an Arab that have preserved the language in written form when we say when we talk about the educated writers amongst the Arabs. Okay? That's just an interesting point right there for anyone who thinks that this is something belonging to the Arabs and you don't have a piece on it. No, it's like they say, وَلَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ تَرْكِهِ إِلَّا رِيَاضَةٌ امْرِئٍ بِفَكِّهِ. There's nothing between doing it and not doing it except the man playing with his jaw. That's the only thing preventing you. The Arabic language is such a language that the Arabs don't even possess it. Anyone can possess it if they work on it.